Let's talk about Fallout though. How was it?
Phenomenal, bro.
I don't even know what is Fallout about.
Fallout is basically like it's like an after apocalypse show. It's like after an apocalypse happened, post apocalypse. That's how it's said.
Okay.
Post apocalyptic show, and it's just following the people who survived the blast.
They stayed underground.
Yes. It's like
They had bunkers.
Yeah, the vaults.
The rich have have bunkers.
So they had vaults that were owned by a company called Vault Tech, and they had people buy rooms in their vaults. Like they built like over 100 vaults throughout the United States, and they had people buy them. Like they were doing advertising to make people like be careful because it was a nuclear
the context.
It was the feeling of the Cold War.
It was during the Cold War.
It wasn't during the Cold War. It was in 21.
You're right.
Like it was in the future, but in this
Cold War.
It was like the Cold War. They had like everything was 50s
Just
style, but futuristic. Like they never I read that in that it's an alternate reality to where they didn't develop like past like analog TVs, but they developed a whole lot of other things, but they never found out the thing to push us into HD. So it's all analog stuff, but with futuristic everything else.
Think of like OG Star Wars.
Yeah,
50s cars that are hover cars.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, man. I think I like this West Mike shit. This hard.
I forgot. I was gonna bring the fucking thing down so we could put you on the camera, but I forgot. I'll bring it down next time.
Yeah, so but it's kind of got a lot of.
I'm not gonna lie, bro.
Go ahead.
If you figured out how to make hover cars and you didn't figure out how to make an HD TV, go back down.
But I feel like that's because they wanted they wanted to keep the 50s aesthetic, but they wanted the technology that these people had after the Fallout happened.
It's like a play.
Like they wanted it to look 50s, but still have advanced technology.
Yeah, I get it.
It's a play on extreme capitalism, wanting to keep us bare bones as possible while advancing in all the convenience of like technical militarized stuff.
Militarized stuff.
Yeah.
The company that had all these vaults, a bunch of like basically billionaires that controlled the world did different things in each vault. It was all experimentation to see how they could control people, like put them in different controlled environments.
Yeah.
And then in the future, they let them out. Not everyone got out. A lot of people were frozen and stuff like that. But the feel of it is Mad Max with a little bit more technology.
Okay.
Like a sci-fi.
More civilization.
Okay. You're talking about the show.
Well, the show was kind of
Fallout in general.
So the Fallout show, what makes it, honestly, I could say this with full confidence, the best live action adaptation of a video game I've ever seen, because
no lie,
it genuinely just takes what the game is, the core concept of everything, and you just follow the story.
It's better than Last of Us?
I was just about to ask that.
See, now here's what makes it, at least for my... So I didn't play The Last of Us before I watched Last of Us, but then when I watched Last of Us, I have a lot of friends that played that game, and they were all pretty much like, you don't really have to play it, you get the gist of it from watching the show.
Yeah.
Now, Fallout, that is a game that is an RPG. If you guys played Skyrim before, or just the game where you have a main story, but you do side quests, level, you just do whatever the fuck you want.
Mm-hmm.
So in Fallout 4, it was pretty much just that. There's one main story, but then the rest is just up to you and how you explore and do shit. So with the show, it's like, okay, so what we're just going to do is we'll get that main story started, like exactly how, well, not exactly like how it is in Fallout 4, but like in similar fashion to get the protagonist out of the vault. And then from there, she just has her one main quest. And as she goes and does it, random bullshit happens. And then she gets sidetracked and has to go do that. So it feels like a video game, and they're keeping true to the elements. And now they did absolutely everything. The set, the music, the attention to details, the sound effects, all straight from the video game. Every single thing is straight from the video game. And it feels like
they're finally
you're watching like a cutscene.
They're finally learning.
So acting wise, do you put her on par with Last of Us?
I would.
So I will too, but the thing is about Fallout is the entire like setting of Fallout again is extreme capitalism. It's meant to be a satire. So like they're really advanced, but they're still stuck in their old ways. Like they're still like really like how old people are in the 1950s.
Racist.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
like,
gotcha.
yeah, that's one of them. Yeah.
Well, and I'll also say like with Last of Us, the settings are different.
Segregation.
Well,
And like and also like
the blacks and white can't eat in the same spot.
in the Last of Us storyline, the Fallout storyline, there's really no like humor or satire in Last of Us. It's all like depression and serious. I mean, it's every like now and then it's like some jokes and everything. But like with Last of Us, but with Fallout, even the whole game aesthetic is just like it's not too serious. It can be serious, but it's not.
It's
too
very,
serious.
very bare bones. Like even the stuff that's taken seriously is like a exaggeration of a satire or something. So like an example would be the Brotherhood of Steel. They are the staple military of the whole wasteland, and they are all like bare bones, beat 'em up type people. Like fucking anybody that's on the enemy side, don't say a word, just shoot them. Like some Helldiver shit. Like they're just like we are the only sole protectors of this land, and we gotta fight for our brothers. They're just hardcore about it, and they're like not like hiding it, and it's funny. Like
they also have some of the most advanced technology amongst like everybody else is kind of like
that's another thing too.
That's my boy.
They call them wastelanders. Like you pretty much are just trying to find shelter the best way you can. There's raiders like coming to rob every single person and torture and kill them.
People eat people.
There's
like
also when you watch the show, like it stays true to like the game in a sense of like. You have usually every time you have a conversation with somebody, you have 4 choices. There's usually like the person who's like trying to be nice and be everybody's friend and kind of oblivious to like things. That's one path you can take. You can take the path of being super sarcastic, and then you can take the path of just
I just want to do
badass as fuck and just like
absolutely.
Playing by your own rules. So the main character is a vault dweller who comes out and is really like naive about how the world is, and she's trying to befriend everybody she meets and make no enemies and stuff like that. And that doesn't really work, and you see that with her character, and she learns that by the end.
She's my new favorite celebrity.
Like as you're playing the game, you get
she's British.
You get companions. So random people will become your companion. Like there's specific people that can become your companion, but like they usually have like a different personality from you, but they help you out a lot. And there's 2 people that you follow the story of in the show, and they each have their own personality different. Like they would choose their words differently than she would.
It's 3 people. It was like it's the Ghoul, Maximus, and Lucy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 2 companions to her.
No. Oh, yeah.
So
my bad.
Maximus is kind of like he becomes a rogue Brotherhood of Steel person, and he's kind of sarcastic and like,
dude, he's so
standoffish.
Funny, dude. He's so funny.
And then there's the Ghoul. So ghouls are people that have been exposed to high radiation, and they get special powers from it, but they look fucked up.
He's been alive since the bomb dropped. And that was 200 years ago. They've been in that vault for 200 plus
But
years.
he's been out in the wasteland. Like he uses there's different medications that you can use, and he uses a thing called Radaway, because once you become a ghoul, eventually
that's what it was.
Eventually you become a feral ghoul, and you become very animalistic, and you don't have
you
don't have reason anymore, kind of like in most zombie movies how zombies are. But if you take Radaway, it kind of keeps you human while looking like a ghoul.
Okay.
So that's how he stayed alive, is by Radaway, because they're it's kind of like Deadpool, like they heal themselves. So that's how a ghoul is.
They have regenerative.
Yeah, they do.
But the ghoul is the badass that doesn't give a fuck, and he's doing whatever the fuck he wants. And those are the 2 people that come together with her at the end.
Well, he's trying to find his family.
He's trying to, he has his own story. Everybody has their own story of going through the wasteland.
Why, for me, it's like, to compare to The Last of Us, and why I think it's the best video game adaptation, is like Wes was saying, where The Last of Us, it's very, very serious. So the acting in that is like superb to what it's supposed to be. The little humor elements are really good, while Fallout kind of a satire. But somebody that's played Fallout, when I was watching the show, there wasn't a single time where I'm like, oh yeah, I remember like going through this exact scene. But I was like, oh, I remember doing something similar to that. Now I want to go play the game to experience that again. Yeah. And then there's the 3 ways that you play, like Wes was saying. Like all 3 of these characters are actually very different in contrast, and like our mindsets of what a player can play like in that game. The badass, the dude that kind of like just cons his way and makes things work as he can and doesn't have like a morality, and then the naive girl that wants to think everything good and just be the best person that she can. But then they're learning, like they have development as they go on. She starts becoming less naive and starts becoming more like, all right, I gotta like come up to and actually be like brutal and ruthless, and I actually have to like make bad decisions sometimes that isn't like right for everybody. So with The Last of Us though, since that tells the exact story, you know what's going to happen. Like if I played the game, I would know what's going to happen in the show. And now that I know what's happened in the show, if I were to play the game, it was strictly just because I like video games and I'd want to play it. No other reason. Maybe just to see what the differences are. Yeah. For the Fallout show though, you show that to somebody that's never played Fallout, and you like that show, you're going to have the best experience ever playing Fallout 4, because you're not going to know what's going to happen, but you're going to get what's happening. You're going to be like, oh my God, this is just like in the show. Oh, I kind of get it. And then vice versa, where it's like, now I kind of want to go play Fallout to have my own thing. And I know Fallout, I know the story, but as the show was going on, I didn't know anything. They had got great twists. They actually ended up like implementing politics and drama in a really good way. Like the whole show is like satirical and there's like comedy to it. But when it does get serious in the drama, it does a very good job at that. So I think people who aren't even into the Fallout series would enjoy that show a lot.
That's dope.
Yeah. There's a lot to offer from it.
Well, no, Maximus' whole storyline of him just loving the Brotherhood of Steel and then actually seeing someone who's actually, who was it? Titus? Yeah, who actually seeing a knight, and then it ended up being like an asshole and shit.
Who was played by Michael Rappaport.
And then he literally dies.
That's Mike Titus? That's Mike Rappaport? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the main character, Lucy's brother, is fucking
Hannah Montana.
Rico from Hannah Montana.
Moses Arias.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
It's really funny. So when he's in the vault, so his sister goes on the journey, whatever her journey is.
He's the fourth main.
Oh yeah. And then so he stays back at the vault, and he has a person that's his cousin that like they're kind of figuring everything out in the vault because there's some secret shady shit going on. It's really funny because his cousin's probably like 6'4", 6'5", and he's like 5'5", 5'4". So they're just walking around like completely different contrast of like heights, and it's really silly seeing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I might watch that.
It's only 8 episodes. It's really
I think I would love for you guys to watch and see what you have to say, because you guys not. Well, I don't know if
I don't play games.
Oh yeah, we've already talked about it.
It doesn't have hard, bro. It's impossible, dog. Like I tried.
Yeah, no, I think you guys watch that, you're gonna be like, I want to play.
It doesn't have the budget of like Last of Us, but it doesn't need it.
Oh, it works. The set design literally looks straight from the games. Like as it's showing scenes, I'm not like again like, oh yeah, I remember doing this exact thing in the game, but the environment or the place looks just like something that would be in the game, where I'm like, oh yeah, this feels like Fallout.
Yeah, they was doing like the menu music on some shit. I was like,
oh my god, yeah,
that's dope as fuck.
I was geeking out on that shit, so
same.
Yeah. Speaking of menu music, talk about music.
Speaking of Fallout,
talking about falling out.
Drake,
falling out.
Future fell out.
Drake,
Future, Ross.
Everybody, bro.
Weekend
was chilling. Right? Yeah. What the fuck?
Not getting the fucking Drake and Ross song again. It's gonna hurt. This
is an enjoyable part of the podcast. So we get to talk about.